residents from various regions of China unusually gather at Supreme Court in Beijing seeking justice. Over 1,000 students and faculty protest at Anhui University. Beijing-Harbin Expressway bridge in Liaoning collapses, crane on standby at scene. Putin visits Harbin, local schools listed as sensitive keywords. Sensitive moment, high-level China-U.S. defense talks, neither side backs down. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Residents from various regions of China unusually gather at Supreme Court in Beijing seeking justice. Petitioners in China, oppressed by the Communist Party, are tragically among the most sorrowful groups, with their numbers growing. On May 16, in a rare event, individuals from across China converged outside the Supreme Court in Beijing to express their grievances, catching the attention of the international community. On that same day, an overseas social media outlet called Truth Media on Platform X released a video capturing a significant crowd, many of them elderly, visibly agitated. One elderly woman could be heard shouting, "Give back my hard-earned money," amidst a chaotic scene that made it difficult to make out other details. The crowd included numerous uniformed police officers, either standing or patrolling, with the court's security booth also packed with officers. The individual who filmed the video is from Heilongjiang. His store had been vandalized, and with the police refusing to take action, he traveled to Beijing to seek justice. In response to these events, on May 16, an ex-social media user named Fan Kong Shirbao criticized Xi Jinping's ideal of a community with a shared future for mankind. They argue that in reality, China more closely resembles a community of shared fate among petitioners and wronged citizens. People from across China, despite their varying situations, come together here united by a common purpose that temporarily overrides their individual differences, creating a temporary community where each person expresses their grievances. The backdrop of skyscrapers, symbols of urban prosperity, starkly contrasted with the smallness and helplessness of these citizens demanding their rights. The intensity of their shouts, filled with anger, despair, and hope, vividly conveyed the depth of their suffering and their desperate quest for justice. The post further indicated that the video highlighted the widespread issues of rights protection in China, including government inaction, judicial unfairness, and collusion between police and criminals, all of which severely impact ordinary Chinese people. These citizens, driven to exhaustion on their long journey for justice, ultimately find themselves at the Supreme Court's doorstep, illustrating not only their personal plights but also the broader societal issues in China. Another netizen suggested that the Chinese Communist Party's refusal to acknowledge mistakes and change the status quo means the costs of maintaining stability through oppression will only escalate until it overwhelms the regime itself, encouraging them to continue until they can no longer afford to maintain their military and stability measures. Another disclosed, just the other day, a lawyer friend mentioned that registering a case in court now takes over a year. The system is nearing collapse. These Chinese citizens are at the forefront of the movement to overthrow the Communist Party. Since the pandemic, there has been no peace in society. There's also a specific location in Beijing, the National Bureau for Letters and Calls, where the volume of aggrieved citizens frequently overflows. Several videos shared on X platform illustrate that during the Communist Party's annual 2 sessions from March 4 to 11, the entrance to Beijing's National Bureau for Letters and Calls was consistently swamped with people, becoming a focal point for those defending their rights. Numerous petitioners from all over the country queued up daily, encircled by police, plainclothes agents, and interceptors, with many being forcibly removed. Importantly, these real-time videos depicting the dense crowds at the Bureau are not accessible on China's mainland internet. Visitors to the National Bureau for Letters and Calls often leave disheartened, a sentiment echoed by a woman lamented in one video, who said that after enduring countless hardships to get to Beijing, you face endless deflections at the reception office of the Bureau for Letters and Calls. It's tough to enter, tough to see any official, and the only faces are those of impatient receptionists who glare and scowl, barely glance at the documents, and dismiss you in a few words. The number of aggrieved petitioners is overwhelming, with endless queues of the injured and disabled, of all ages and both sexes. Human rights activist Hu Jia explained to Voice of America, China is governed by people, not by laws. In a true rule of law society, you could rely on the law instead of needing to petition. However, China, despite having a legal framework, lacks actual rule of law. It has a constitution without constitutional governance and laws without legal enforcement. Hu Jia noted that many of the cases brought forth by petitioners involve local officials and remain unresolved for long periods, as the petition agencies, courts, and local authorities are deeply interconnected. Over 1,000 students and faculty protest at Anhui University. Chinese society is in a state of unrest. The evidence is that it has recently witnessed a wave of protest activities across the nation. On May 16, over 1,000 students and faculty at the former Jianghua College of Anhui University in Hefei, Anhui, staged a protest. During the protest, faculty held banners stating "Unscrupulous Anhui University, betraying trust, return our college," while students loudly demanded refunds and decried the university's lack of responsibility. They did this in front of figures who appeared to be university officials, with their voices intensifying. Banners accused the administration of deceiving both higher and lower levels, engaging in corrupt exchanges, and irregularly transitioning the institution. The administration responded by deploying security to intimidate the students and hinder their protests. Despite ongoing appeals for resolution, the protest stretched into the following day, unresolved. According to a video posted by a user account yesterday on the X platform, it disclosed that the change occurred in 2023 when Anhui University sold Jianghua College, leading to the cancellation of about 2,400 students' records and the transfer of the school code to the new institution, which has refused to accommodate the affected students and teachers, leaving them with potentially worthless degrees and jobless. Students have expressed outrage online, citing substandard living conditions at the new university and a lack of typical student activities. There are also allegations that the school has misappropriated a tuition subsidy of 6,000 yuan, nearly $831 per student that was due since 2019. Beijing-Harbin Expressway bridge in Liaoning collapses, crane on standby at scene. Chinese tofu drag bridges continue to collapse. News broke out on the evening of May 16 from mainland China that around 10:30 p.m., a bridge on the Beijing-Harbin Expressway in Liaoning province had collapsed. Videos showed traffic crawling along, with fire trucks, police vehicles, and a crane all poised on the roadside, ready to respond. Initial reports from the Liaoning Provincial Department of Transportation indicated that the bridge suffered structural damage and surface depression but did not result in any casualties. The highway's customer service confirmed the collapse and stated that repairs were underway on the emergency lane, while other lanes remained open to traffic. An eyewitness reported seeing the scene while driving past but was unable to stop and assess the situation in detail. They speculated that an accident had occurred. Until now, due to a government blockade of information, it's hard to get accurate details on the extent of the damage or the casualties. This incident follows a similar bridge collapse on the Liaoning Expressway in Guangdong Province on May 1, which resulted in a tragic loss of life. The collapse caused many vehicles to fall and some to explode into flames. As of May 2, the official death toll stood at 48, as reported by the authorities. Putin visits Harbin, local schools listed as sensitive keywords. Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in Harbin, China, early on the morning of May 17 to take part in a series of high-profile events, such as the China-Russia Expo and the China-Russia Regional Cooperation Forum. Despite the importance of these events, reports have emerged that discussing them is considered sensitive by the Chinese Communist Party. Online sources revealed that residents in Harbin were informed by local schools to warn their children against discussing or posting any sensitive terms related to the visit on social media. This includes terms like Harbin Trade Fair, which pertains to the China-Harbin International Economic Trade Negotiation Fair, and associated details, sparking discussions about the reasons behind such censorship. Harbin, situated in Heilongjiang Province, shares multiple borders with Russia and is close to what was once the Chinese territory of Vladivostok. This geographical proximity has historically fostered a deeply intertwined and complex relationship with Russia. Back in the Qing dynasty era, China was forced to sign several unequal treaties with Tsarist Russia, ceding vast territories including Vladivostok. Following the collapse of both the Qing and the Tsarist regimes, these lands remained a hotbed of sovereignty disputes. Controversially, in 1999, former CCP leader Jiang Zemin formally ceded over 1 million square kilometers of land to Russia, an area equivalent to dozens of Taiwans, drawing severe criticism both from within China and internationally. These changes ensure that the text is grammatically sound while maintaining its logical flow and coherence. Sensitive moment, high-level China-U.S. defense talks, neither side backs down. On the eve of Taiwan's presidential inauguration, scheduled for May 20th, a tense video call took place between Li Bin, director of the International Military Cooperation Office of the Central Military Commission of China, and Ely Ratner, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs of the United States. During the call, Li Bin accused the U.S. and Taiwan of military collusion and claimed that the actions of Taiwanese independence movements were destabilizing the Taiwan Strait. He underscored the Chinese military's resolve to defend its national sovereignty and territorial integrity, warning of stern countermeasures if the U.S. continues its unilateral actions. Li Bin also hinted at severing military communication channels, a move he believes would be regrettable given the hard-won nature of Sino-American military dialogue. He advocated for mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and mutually beneficial cooperation as the foundation for interaction between the two militaries. In response, Ratner reaffirmed that the U.S. remains committed to the agreements it has previously entered into. Moreover, the term collusion, used by Li Bin, echoes recent remarks from Chinese officials, signaling a tense atmosphere. Recent U.S.-Taiwan naval exercises, described in media reports as unplanned encounters, indicate a strengthening of military cooperation in face of growing threats from China, despite official denials of such activities. Amid these developments, a high-level U.S. delegation is set to attend Li's inauguration, with former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo participating in a personal capacity. Pompeo voiced strong support for Taiwan, urging continued vigilance against Chinese threats and recognizing Taiwan's strategic global significance. Responding to these developments, Lu Pengyu, spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in the U.S., mentioned that the U.S.'s approach to Taiwan's new administration starting May 20th would significantly influence cross-strait relations and the future dynamics between China and the U.S. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre, speaking at a routine press briefing on the 15th, expressed her anticipation for collaborative efforts with Taiwan's government and political leaders. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.